Swooping down on the back of a beautiful pegasus, the angel riding it shouted in a fury as her spear glowed with radiant light, ready to charge into battle, charging straight into the fray of a horrible, war-strewn battleground. Flying low to the ground on a charcoal magma pegasus, the demon began to swing their large greatsword around in large sweeps, charging through the armies of Kingdom's warriors, before rising high above the battleground to begin taking pot shots with their longbow at the army below. Riding on the ground was an android, clearly battle damaged, as their metal face was heavily damaged, and they rode in a strange horse-like device, but didn't have any legs and had two wheels and a narrow body. It was a motorcycle, and as the Tarrasque chasing them neared, they pulled back and the motorcycle lifted up into the air out of reach of the Tarrasque. Valkyries are most commonly depicted as angelic warriors riding a pegasus, but nothing really says they have to be angelic. In fact, it doesn't have to be a normal pegasus either. Many Valkyries can ride creatures that are similar to Pegasus, much like a demonic flying horse or even a flying motorcycle if your DM allows it. These classes would still be considered as a Valkyrie, however. The Valkyries gain a flying mount right off the bat, and this mount grows stronger as you do. In addition, Valkyrie is able to use both specific stances, and they get to use what are called talent points to manipulate their different unique attacks. So, to make a Valkyrie quickly, you want to start with making your strength your highest score, followed by your wisdom. Either pick the folk hero or the soldier background. Valkyries use a d10 for their hit dice. You are proficient in medium, heavy armor, and shields. Your weapons you're proficient in are simple weapons and martial melee weapons. You get one set of tools. Your saving throws you're proficient in are strength and wisdom. And you could choose 2 skills from animal handling, athletics, history, insight, perception, religion, intimidation, and persuasion. Your starting equipment is a simple weapon and a shield, or 2 simple weapons. The next option is 1 martial weapon or a short sword. Third option is chain armor or half plate armor. And the third option is Explorer's Kit, or the fourth option is Explorer's Kit, Dungeoneer's Pack, or Scholar's Pack. So let's go ahead and get into the levels. Starting at first level, Valkyries get a fighting style, Valkyrie's stance, and the Cavalier feature. Fighting style options you have as a Valkyrie are the Blessed Warrior, Blind Fighting, Defense, Dueling, Great Weapon Fighting, Interception, Protection, Two-Weapon Fighting. Two-Weapon Fighting is the last one they get. Then we're going to get into the Valkyrie's stance feature. Starting at first level, you can spend your bonus action to enter a different stance. Once activated, your stance will only last 1 minute. Once you use this feature, you cannot use it again until you finish a short or long rest. Once you reach 8th level, you can use a bonus action to change your current stance. The stances you have are the stance of offense, stance of defense, and the stance of motion. During the stance of offense, you can add 1d6 radiant damage to all attack rolls, and this increases to 1d8 by 8th level. The stance of defense. During this stance, when you or a creature in your melee range get attacked, you can spend your reaction to reduce the damage you or a creature within 10 feet of you take by 1d4 plus your Valkyrie level. At 8th level, your range increases to 20 feet. If you choose the interception fighting style, this stacks with it, expending the same reaction to reduce all of that damage. And there's the stance of motion is the third stance. During this stance, your movement speed is increased by 10 feet, and at 8th level, your movement speed will instead be increased by 20 feet. This movement bonus also applies to your Pegasus mount, which we're about to get into, because the final feature they get at level 1 is Cavalier. Starting at first level, you can summon the spirit of your Valkyrie's mount, becoming a Cavalier. A Valkyrie can summon their Pegasus mount to them as an action. You can command it as a bonus action, however, when riding it, you can use your movement to use its movement instead of yours. If you don't command it on your bonus action, it will just take the dodge action. You can use this ability once and regain that use after a long rest. The stats of the Pegasus, their AC is equal to 10 plus your proficiency bonus. Their hit points is half of your hit point maximum. And their movement speed changes as they level up. It starts with 45 walking, 30 flying. When you reach 10th level, it becomes 60 feet of flying. And they have a few other simple things. They're proficient in Dex and Wisdom saves. They get one attack that they can make. They're essentially primarily meant to be a mount. Then at 2nd level, as a Valkyrie, you're going to get talents. So, with talents, starting at 2nd level, you gain the ability to use talents to do different things with your attacks. You must spend a talent before rolling to hit. You can only spend 1 talent point per attack. You regain all expended talent points after finishing a long rest. The following talent points are Radiant Strike, Power Hit, Valkyrie Strike, Fatal Critical, Frost Strike, Fire Strike, Exhausting Radiance. Radiant Strike is you can spend 1 talent point to add 2d6 radiant damage to the damage of an attack. With Power Hit, you can spend 1 talent point. If you hit with your roll, the attack will turn it into a critical hit. However, if you miss your roll, you will roll your damage regardless, and instead you take the damage you would have dealt with a non-critical hit attack. Then Valkyrie Strike, you can spend 2 talent points to give your attack roll advantage, as well as when rolling damage, you can add 2d8 radiant damage to the total roll. And there's a Fatal Critical. For this one, you can choose to spend this after you have rolled a crit, after you've rolled to hit, if the roll was a crit as well. When doing so, the target will take half the total damage from the crit on the beginning of its next turn. So say you did 20 damage with the crit, at the beginning of the target's next turn, you take 10 more damage. Then there's Frost Strike. You can spend 1 talent point to add 2d6 cold damage to the damage of an attack. Fire Strike, same thing, but with fire damage. The final one with the talents is Exhausting Radiance. You can spend 3 talent points. If your attack hits the target, they must make a Constitution saving throw. The DC is going to be 8 plus your proficiency bonus plus your wisdom modifier. On a fail, the target gains 1 point of exhaustion and gets the poisoned condition. So that's it for the talents that they get. They have a total number of talent points. It's on their list, but it pretty much is half their level rounded up. That's how many talent points they get, and they regain all their talent points after finishing a short or a long rest. Or sorry, they just get back on a long rest, not short or long. Okay, then we're going to get on to noises. Then on to 3rd level is Valkyrie's Path, which is your subclass. At 4th level is an ability score improvement. At 5th level is a extra attack. Valkyries get an equal amount of extra attacks as the fighters do. So they get their first extra at 5th, they get the second extra attack at 11th level, and they get a 3rd extra attack at 20th level. They can attack far more often than fighters can, but they don't get action surge like fighter does. Then going on to 6th level, we have Force Weapon. Starting at 6th level, you can summon a spiritual weapon. Your spiritual weapon can take any form. It takes a bonus action to summon. The weapon currently is a +1 to attack and damage rolls. At 14th level, that increases to a +2. And at 17th level, this increases to a +3. You don't need to wield this weapon with your hands, as it can float within 30 feet of you, using your wisdom for attack rolls instead of strength or dexterity if you do it this way. This spiritual weapon lasts for 1 minute with your concentration. Once using this feature, you cannot use it again until you finished a short or long rest. Essentially, it is their own version of the spiritual weapon spell that clerics get, but it's their own version they can have of it. This way, if you're going in a campaign where you don't get much magic items, you have options to get +1, +2, +3 magic weapons at least. At least have something with that as you're leveling up. Then, at level 7 is your next subclass feature. Level 8, you get your ability score improvements and your stance improvements, which we went over on the Valkyrie stances in level 1. At level 9, you get Indomitable, just like the fighter does. You'll get a total of 2 Indomitables, and these are when you fail a saving throw, you can choose to spend your use of Indomitable and re-roll. You get 2 uses. Your first is at 9, your second is at 13th. At 10th level is an ability score improvement. 11th is your extra attack, your second extra attack. 12th is your next ability score improvement. 13 is Indomitable 2. 14 is your next Valkyrie Path feature. At level 15, you get Aura of Courage. Starting at 15th level, you and friendly creatures within 10 feet of you can't be frightened while you are conscious. Very simple. 16th level is ability score improvement. 17th is nothing. 18th is your final Valkyrie Path feature. 19th is an ability score improvement. And 20th is your final extra attack. Very simple. A different take on a fighter, but I wanted to make it a full class instead of just a subclass. Okay, so we're just going to go real quick through the subclasses for the Valkyrie. These subclasses they get are the Cloudwalker, which is your very celestial-based Valkyrie, very classic look on how Valkyrie is. Then there is the Planeswalker, which is a traveler and protector of the plains using nature to your advantage, a much more nature-based Valkyrie. And there's the Hellwalker, which is the demon and devil type evil and chaos Valkyrie, the second one that we described at the very beginning. There's then the Elemental Walker, which is a Valkyrie that uses the power of the main 4 elements with your Pegasus and your attacks. So then there's the Time Walker, which uses the power of time and the mysterious Mota, which I've mentioned before. We might get to, we might not get to in these videos. That might be something lore specific I save for later. Then the final Valkyrie subclass is the Void Walker. The Void Walkers uses the power of the Abyss. So this is much more of the demon and eldritchly and kind of warlocky based subclass of the Valkyrie. So with that, that's everything we have. Everything we got for the Valkyrie for this video. Like I said, it's kind of a lot like a fighter, but with, a flying mount and unique tactics to make something a little more interesting, to make it kind of interesting fighter type class. Our next video, we're going to be going over the Warden, which is going to be interesting. It is a half-caster ranged support class. Definitely one of my more favorites, I think, in this class. It was especially with the art. I love the art of this one, and I think you guys will enjoy it as well. But yes, that was going to be it for this video. I'm used to being cut off. Let's see if it's going to happen. I wasn't fully cut off last time. I was instead making a joke with my dog, which, sad. Anyway, bye.